Our viewers, wherever you're watching us all over the world, welcome to this special edition of TVBakwetu. My name is Patrick Chilufya, and I'm hosting from Sussex, the sunny Sussex, United Kingdom. And my co-host is Mr. Chasaya Sichilima from Canada, and our guest is Mr. Thomas Chona, based in Canada, but is running his business from Zambia. This program was supposed to be 2 weeks ago, but we had problems with internet connectivity. Now that Mr. Chona is in Canada, and I can see it's very clear we're not going to have problems, which we experienced 2 weeks ago. And please, our fellow Zambians in the diaspora in Zambia, please share this program on Facebook. It's a very important program because we'll be talking about one of the companies, Zambian companies, investing from the diaspora to Zambia. And the theme of the program today is Zambians investing in the diaspora, Zambian diaspora investing back home. And the company we'll be talking about today is Zackstar, Zambia Limited, a company formed by diasporans and Zambians, which is now operating in Zambia. So we'll be talking about the successes of some of the businesses started by the Zambians in the diaspora. And our guest today is Mr. Thomas Chona, and then my co-host is Mr. Chasaya Sichilima. Mr. Chilima, I'll start with you. Can you just briefly introduce yourself? Thank you.
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to thank TVBakwetu for the opportunity. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, TVBakwetu, for the opportunity to appear on your show. I am Chasaya Sichilima, and I'm based in Waterloo, Canada. I've been here for 20 years, but my passion really is about diaspora engagement and how we utilize our experiences as Zambians in the diaspora to help our country, but also help ourselves elevate our country to whatever we hope it to be. Aside from that, I'm also a musician and a computer scientist, and I look forward to today's engaging discussion.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chasaya. By the way, Mr. Chasaya, we've come a long way from Ndola. Mr. Chasaya was my 2-year senior at Kansenshi Secondary School. Welcome, Mr. Chasaya. And now
Thank
I
you.
welcome Mr. Thomas Chona, who is our guest. Mr. Chona, can you please give us a brief introduction of yourself?
Well, first of all, I would like to thank you for giving me this opportunity to be on your program. It's really a privilege, and I'm humbled to be here. Also want to apologize for the breaking communication 2 weeks ago due to the poor internet connection at the location where I was. My name is Thomas Chona. I am the CEO of Zackstar, Zambia Limited. It's a renewable energy company based in Zambia. Currently, I'm in London, Ontario, in Canada, where I have come to visit my family. So that is where I am currently. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chona. We'll ask you more questions about you and what you're doing during the course of the program. But our viewers, I just want to give a short preamble to this program before our guest comes in for question time. So today's show is part of the various series of shows that we'll be talking about the successes and attempts of Zambian businesses owned by the diaspora, such as Zackstar Zambia Limited. His Excellency the President HH declared at the just ended Zambia Diaspora Conference in Livingstone that he would love to see the diaspora to be part of the economic development agenda of Zambia. This is one of the reasons why we're having this program. Our President HH calls the diaspora the 11th province. The OAU calls the diaspora the 6th region. The Zambian diaspora, this is what we'll be talking about. The Zambian diaspora answering the call or their wishes to be participants in the economic development of their country. For a long time, the economic development agenda of our country has been set by people who are not connected to Zambia. It's about time that Zambians locally, and those in the diaspora themselves set that economic development agenda. And one of the ways this can be achieved is by the diaspora working in partnership or collaboration with the Zambian government, government agencies, parastatals, local councils, banks, financial institutions, local council, and so on. We will also look at the global impact and perspective of the diaspora involvement in the economic development and how Zambia can leverage the full potential of the diaspora human and financial capital, looking at the diaspora as a foreign investor. Mr. Chona, welcome to TVBakwetu.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So I will start by asking you to give us a brief bio of yourself, including why you co-founded Zackstar Zambia Limited, which is a renewable energy company. Over to you, Mr. Chona.
Thank you very much. I actually started my education in the rural area, in the village, Lampeo, Chona village. That is where I started my primary school, and from there, my secondary school was at Kanisha Secondary School. And I also went to UNZA, but before then I went for Zambia National Service, which I shouldn't skip because it was a very important part of my life. So after university, I worked for BCC, which was a bank, primarily in the IT sector. And I also worked for Finance Bank before I left in 97 to go into the diaspora, first to England, and then in 2000, I arrived here in Canada, and have been working for the bank in Canada here. Then I decided to switch after I got a visit from a Zambian friend of mine, Mr. Matthews Banda. It was just, I think, a thing of God, because when he visited me at first here, we had a long chat, and then he invited me to visit him in Germany. And that is where I actually saw renewable energy in action. And it blew my mind, and I said, wow, this is something that I need to take back to the village, actually. So this would be a great thing to take back to the village. And when I came back to Canada here, I embarked on an educational and career to change my career from information technology to alternative energy. I pursued courses and programs at college and university, and that has brought me to this point. Yeah. So that's a brief bio that I can give for now.
That's fantastic. Yeah, but then that was in Canada now. Then what was the motivation? You leaving the comfortable Canada, your family is there, and co-found Zackstar Zambia Limited, which you are now the CEO in Zambia.
Actually, once I discovered this technology and how it could be used, I co-founded an organization called Global Light Projects. It was an NGO. And I remember very, very much that I got the assistance of a lot of the Zambian colleagues here in Canada, and also Canadian friends of mine, including, I say Zambians, including Mr. Chasaya Sichilima himself, was actually involved in that program. So we raised some funds. We came to Zambia. I came to my old school, and we installed solar on my old classroom. And we did several projects around that area, and of which from then I thought this would be a very good opportunity to make this as a business, to be able to assist other areas to grow. So leaving the comfort of Canada was not very difficult for me, a decision for me, because I knew that such technology would have a great impact on Zambia as a whole, especially because we did schools. And once you do a school, that means that you are changing the lives of not just one person, but a lot of people. Yeah, so that is what actually motivated me into doing this.
That's fantastic, because it looks like us people in the diaspora, Machasaya, myself, I think it's high time we need to start thinking about going back home and make an impact, help people in Zambia, with our exposure, our experience, our finances, and help somebody in Zambia there. That was fantastic. And then, Mr. Chona, in a nutshell, we know that Zackstar is a renewable company. But in a nutshell, what does Zackstar do, or what are some of the products, inventions, or services that Zackstar offers?
So
and before you come in, just hold that thought. I can see our viewers. Some of our viewers are asking. They've never heard about Zackstar. I've just posted Zackstar's website on Facebook, so you can see it. Over to you, Mr. Chona.
yes, so Zackstar is actually a startup company. We only started in 2019. That was when the company was registered. And since then, we of course had the misfortune of having COVID start right at the time that we were just starting. So we had a rough start due to COVID and the slowdown of our equipment coming into the country. But what we are is a company that does solar installations. We are also trying to do wind energy. So we retail equipment such as inverters, batteries, and solar panels, and we maintain those equipment as well. We're also involved in research. We are doing research in different fields with the various partners. For example, we are researching into solar oven and solar cooking stove. So we are trying to see some of our partners are in Finland, some of them here in Canada are trying to help us to develop these products so that we lessen the use of charcoal and also try to preserve our environment. So these are some of the things that we're involved with.
That was fantastic, especially that charcoal thing. Charcoal is really disastrous to our environment, and if we want to preserve our environment, we need to start moving away from charcoal. And I think your company has some solutions to that. Mr. Chasaya, over to you. If you got any questions from Mr. Chona, please.
Thank you for that. Mr. Chona, I just want to take you back to, I know you mentioned rural Zambia, so I would like you to still be specific. Which village did you set up the school? I do know, of course, that having been part of your other organization, Globalites, you actually installed electricity for the first time at that school. So I think it's important for the listeners to understand the context in which you operated then and now.
Yes, so I think that the first time, the time that I really was touched when I went back to my old school was, I think, if I remember correctly, it was my grandmother's funeral when I visited the school. And I was really devastated when I walked into my old classroom. The roof had been swept off by the rain. And it really touched me, you know. So it just coincidentally happened, or maybe it's a good thing, you know, that after I came back from that visit, I ended up in Germany and saw that technology. So things just kind of came together at that time, my realization that I have to do something about that. First, my aim was, how was I going to put back that roof? But luckily for me, is that other members of the family had already also looked at that situation and were working to see if they could put the roof back on the classroom. Meanwhile, I was also looking at putting electricity for the first time in that classroom. So once we did that successfully with my partners here in Canada and in Zambia, we realized that we could replicate it to other areas. So we did 2 more schools in the same location, and this is in Monze, where I did my primary education. So schools around that, 3 schools around that area got electrified, and we also provided them with laptops and as well as projectors. So that is where everything started from, and from there, when I was finishing my program, I had already made up my mind that I have to come back home and do this as a business.
In terms of, I know that all of us, when we're passionate about something, our first instinct is, I want to do this. And I think then the next step has to be, how do I do it? So in getting to where you are now, what were parts of your preparation to be where you are? You've talked about solar energy, the technology that you found. What steps did you take to move from that transition from being an IT expert to now where you are?
Well, first of all, I had to look for programs that I started researching on YouTube and about the technology. Then I enrolled in a college where for a technician's course. I was hungry for the knowledge in renewable energy. I finished it in record time, and then went on to do a more advanced program in alternative energy engineering. So which I enjoyed immensely, such that up to now my professors are still in touch with me. And then I went to business school to try and see how I could develop this into a business. So so I put all these pieces together as I went along, and I also tried to visit Zambia as often as I can to see how best I could implement the program. Then the other thing was employment. I got employed in different sectors in this technology. First, I went into design. A company employed me, German Solar, employed me as a designer of solar systems. So we're designing systems from 100 kilowatts to 500 kilowatt systems. And I enjoyed it immensely till to the point where I think I said, this I have to do back home. But then I realized that it wasn't a hands-on, it was always in the office. So I switched from that job now to a hands-on, where I was actually doing spanner, and I was on the roof installing the equipment. And that too I enjoyed. So from there, then I switched to another job where I was maintaining now. I worked for solar farms, which were like 10 megawatt solar farms, and maintaining them, making sure that they were running on time. And so I was preparing myself for my return. And my last job was in a distribution company. We were distributing solar equipment. So I wanted to experience all aspects of the solar industry. So in a nutshell, that's really my experience from the time when I saw this technology to this point.
Okay, thank you for that. I'm going to now to fast track. So you've now done all this, you're ready. Your wife has said you can go to Zambia with her blessings. What was the process of setting up the company? What type of licenses did you have to apply? How easy was it to obtain them? And I think also for all of us who are or do want to invest in Zambia, what lessons can you give us, or what things should we look for? Because I'm sure you went with a certain mindset, but what you encountered once on the ground was kind of different. So again, what are the successes and challenges? And if you can hammer those things in this period, that will be fine. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Sichilima, the first license you mentioned from my wife was the very important one. That license is very, very important, and Without that, I don't think that I would have been able to do or pursue this line of business at all. It was not easy for us to make a decision for me to go to Zambia to start this company. It's a lot of sacrifice on our part because we have our children are not all have not all left home yet. So one of us has to stay back and take care of the family. But having said that, I'm blessed that I have a wonderful wife who is supportive of this endeavor, and is able to support me in all kinds of ways, moral support and also financial support when necessary. In terms of other licenses, because we are an energy company, we needed to have a license with the ERB, as well as a license and registration with the EIZ, which is the Engineering Institute of Zambia, as well as the NCC, and these were important because in order for us to work, we have to have these certifications. But the challenges that we faced, of course, was first of all, I was trained here in Canada, and I had to have my qualifications validated by the Zambia Qualification Authority. And this is something that I'm sure many of us in the diaspora are going to have to face. Sometimes there was a big delay from the time when I submitted my credentials to the time that I actually got them validated, and as a result, there was a delay with EIZ, there was a delay with NCC, there was a delay with the ECC as well. CEEC, yeah. So all these organizations had to have my credentials before I could start working. So it was very frustrating sometimes, but I was pushing actually with the ZQA. I had to contact my professors here and complain that they were not communicating with the ZQA, and there was back and forth kind of thing. So that was one of the major challenges that I got in the delay of the start of the business. Yeah. So those licenses were quite important. Also, we applied, because I'm also a teacher, so we applied for TVETA because I wanted to be able to teach what I learned. It was very important for me that I pass on whatever knowledge I have gained into the local market. So I really wanted to see if Zackstar can set up some sort of an educational stream. So I applied with the TVETA. This was in, I think it was in August 2021. Up to date, I haven't yet received my credit, although I have been told that I can go ahead and teach, but I have not received my credentials yet. So these are some of the things that you who are in the diaspora will face as a challenge. And I think there needs to be an improvement on the Zambian side to enable to accommodate us as we go back to Zambia. Yeah. Thank you.
We can't hear you, Chasaya. You are mute.
Oh, sorry about that. I apologize.
Okay.
Mr. Chona, there's a mistaken belief, or whether it's mistaken or not, I think that's debatable. But there's a belief that solar energy is very expensive. Certainly, the setup equipment and only the rich can afford it. What is your take on this?
I think this is a mistake, definitely. Solar is, it appears to be expensive initially, but a solar module will last you 25 years. And that's a long time. If you buy it right now for, let's say, 3,500 kwacha, you spread that over 25 years, you find that actually it's pretty cheap. Even an inverter, or like the ones that we supply our clients, we warrant them for 5 years. So if you spread that over 5 years, you find that it's actually very reasonable. Batteries, we warrant them for 3 years. And these are specialized batteries. So they are not actually expensive if you were to spread it out over these periods. And we did the calculations, when even if you were to buy an inverter every 4 years, and the batteries, an inverter every 6 years and batteries every 4 years, it's still, it beats even a genset. You can't compare with a genset. Just fuel alone, So if anybody can afford a genset, they can certainly afford a solar system. Yes. So solar is not expensive at all.
Okay. I hear you.
But before you come in, it's not just expense, but also we need to educate the people about the environment. I hope in your school you will be teaching Zambians about preserving the environment. Like here in the UK now, we are having the heat wave, which has never happened in this country for hundreds of years, because of we're not responsible for our environment.
Definitely.
Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead, Mr. Chona.
I was going to say, you talk about inverters, you talk about gensets, but my grandmother in Shangombo doesn't know about that. Is there something that you have for them? Do you have, for instance, what can you tell them about Mbaula?
Alternatives to
alternatives.
Well, alternatives to Mbaula, definitely the first choice, our first choice as Zackstar is biogas. And because biogas is a gas which can be made where there are people, where there are animals. And it's just a matter of us being able to master the technology of biogas. Biogas is generated from waste material, from animals or even human beings. So this is something that we at Zackstar are looking at as well as an area of interest. In the rural area, it can be implemented to be used for cooking, and biogas can even be used to run a generator. So I've seen it myself, actually. That visit that I was talking about in Germany, one of the places where I went, it was a biogas plant where this farmer had 200 pigs, and he was running a generator and into the electrical grid. So I was very, very impressed, and that is why when I did my program in solar, I wasn't satisfied, because I needed to know how that guy was making that biogas. So I decided to go for the alternative energy engineering to learn all that technology. Yeah. So that definitely is an alternative to the Mbaula. Also, of course, we are looking at the solar oven and the solar stove. At Zackstar, we are actually developing one. And when we are done, we would like Zambians to come and test it and see. Now, the solar oven and the solar stove all depend on the sunlight, the intensity of sunlight. And so you have to be in touch with the the day. How is the day going to be? Is it going to be a sunny day? In order for you to cook, you have to have a very good sunny day. So these are some of the things that we at Zackstar are working on, and hopefully, God willing, will come into fruition.
Okay. And now you're at a stage where you've set up the company or you've started operating. What kind of installations have you done? What's your clientele like? What's the spread? Can you give us an idea? Do you have people from the diaspora? Is it Zambians only, or is it wealthy Zambians? Is there something for my cousin in Mpulungu?
That's a very interesting question, because actually there's a 50-50. So 50% installations by people in the diaspora from France to the US to Canada. And we've done installations for local people who are at home. And so people are supporting their mothers using our technology. They are supporting their sisters and their relatives who are in the diaspora. And also, there was a load shedding before, and it's still there. Even now, I can say that it's still there. I experienced it in Lusaka West, where I was receiving that call, and probably that was the reason why the network was not working properly. So, and then people don't like the inconvenience. They want continuity in their business and so forth. So we are offering a solution. We also have one client who is completely off the grid, and they have now changed their standard of living because they have electricity. They are able to have a computer and they watch television, So really, electricity is an enabler. Those who don't have it, have a very, very difficult situation on their hands. And I cannot emphasize the importance of having electricity for everyone in the country. Yes.
And you've talked about everyone in the country. Do you have any ties at all to the Rural Electricity Board?
No, actually, although we are trying to engage them, and we have had some tenders that we have submitted with them. But I've visited them, I've had chats with them as to how we can work together, and but I think there's a lot of improvement that needs to come from there. Definitely, there's a lot of improvement. Yeah.
And so, I'm hearing what you're saying, others are hearing. And so if they're interested in acquiring your services, where can they find you and how can they work with you to get this agenda even better and further?
So we have a website, www.zacstar.com, and my email address is thomaschona@zacstar.com. You send me an email. Right now, currently, I'm in Canada, but when I'm on the ground in Zambia, you can contact me at 09777 28912. That's the phone number. And also on WhatsApp here from the Canadian number, +1 519 933 2121. That's my contact number on WhatsApp. So please get in touch with me. If you have any questions, let me know. What we do typically in our business is we do surveys. So we go to a site and we look at what appliances you have on site. And based on the appliances that you have on site, we will configure a system for you or design a system that suits the conditions in that particular location. We will look at your fridge, we will look at your television set, we will look at how many lights you have, security lights and the things and all the appliances in the home on site. And then based on that, we'll come up with a plan with you and ourselves, and then we'll set up design a system that is suitable for you to use. So contact me, and then I'll be able to set up something for us to do. Yeah.
Thank you. Over to you, Patrick.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Chasaya, for the good questions. And Mr. Chona, that was brilliant. You answered those questions very brilliant. One of the things I wanted to ask you is, I just wanted to go back. It says you faced some challenges, which obviously most of us Zambians who wants to invest back home, including Mr. Chasaya, will face. But then, obviously you face those challenges. What should the government do? Because obviously all those government agencies, they are government agencies. So what should be done? Is there any laws that should be passed, or is there anything that needs to be done to speed up or to remove that? To me, I call it the red tape, bureaucracy, because we want to go and invest in Zambia. Other diasporans want to go and invest in Zambia, but then it shouldn't take years and so long, for you to get a certificate to start operating. So what do you think the government needs to do to support the diaspora and other Zambians who wants to invest in Zambia?
I think that the most important thing is to make the government and the agencies and various departments more efficient. I think this is a real concern to me. The first thing that hits you, I think, when you arrive back home is you notice that things are a bit slow, or not a bit, but they slow you down. And sometimes you just wonder, I mean, right from the airport, when you get into outside the airport and you're driving down into Lusaka, there's a roadblock, first of all, right at that welcome sign. You slow down. Then there's a roadblock just a few kilometers after that, and you wonder why all this, And before I think this new government took over, my main complaint, because I drive a lot and I travel around, I have to go from one site to another to collect, buy this equipment, buy this thing, and every time you were driving around, you're finding a roadblock. You have to stop for 5 minutes. You have to stop. And there were so many roadblocks. And this really was a big problem for generally for business. It was choking the economy, really, I can say. Yeah. It has all been lifted right now. Not all of it, but it's still there. It is still there, and I travel from Lusaka to Ndola often because our warehouse is in Ndola, and still you find there are roadblocks on the way. If we want to be land linked, like the president says, land linked, we have to have good highways, and those roadblocks must come out. Even the way bridge, for example, at Kafulafuta, that thing has to come off. There are accidents there all the time. There's nobody to control. So if we have to grow the economy, we have to eliminate all the barriers that are causing the slowdown of the economy. And we have to identify them first and remove them, eliminate them. And what we see on the roads is the tip. It's the tip of the iceberg. Underneath, there's a big iceberg, which I think, what I can say, somebody, or it has to be, you have to do a troubleshooting exercise of the whole government infrastructure. And then that is when the country will really be accelerating as the president wants it to be. Yeah. This is what I think.
That was fantastic. But our president, before he came into power, he talked about he knew about this. One of the things that he would do to improve business, people investing in Zambia, diaspora investing in Zambia, is to remove that red tape. Make sure that he mentioned it. Land is allocated to the diasporans to build, to put their factories. Title deeds, which can take 100 years for you to get them. So he mentioned about all those things. And then you mentioned about you travel a lot. You traveled from Lusaka to the Copper Belt. And I was in Zambia the last 2 weeks of June. Oh my God. The road between Lusaka and Indola and Indola is hell run.
Mm.
And then there's so many toll gates.
Yes.
Collecting so much money. So how do you do business with such a horrible, it's hell run, over to you, Mr. What is, because I paid about 4 toll gates from Lusaka to Ndola, and then that road is hell run.
Mm.
What do you think about that? And you travel in that road most of the time.
Well, definitely. I mean, that's a dangerous road. I mean, a really dangerous road, especially when you come out of Kabwe, going to Kapiri, and further down, the road is really bad. Something has to be done about it, and I hope something will be done about it very soon. But at the same time, you see, we have to remove the roadblocks. Those roadblocks have to be removed and let traffic move freely. I think that is first and foremost for me. If those roadblocks can be removed, and then they start repairing the roads, start repairing the roads immediately, because if the idea is for us to be land linked, we need good roads, good road infrastructure from north to south, east to west. Good road infrastructure. That's when we can move our goods freely from north to south and south to north. Yeah.
That was fantastic. Yeah, let's move on to the diaspora business. According to the World Bank, there are about 300,000 Zambians approximately living in the diaspora, of which 91% are willing to invest in Zambia if there were incentives. Now that you've already invested in Zambia based on your experience, what would be your advice, including incentives if there is any, to Zambians like myself and Mr. Chasaya who want to invest back home?
I think the best example in the world of a country that is supporting the diaspora is Israel. And in fact, I think that is, if you look at the dictionary and most of the literature, you find that the diaspora, refers a lot to the Israelis, because the Jewish people dispersed and then slowly came back to Israel. Another country, I think, that is at the a shining example is Ghana. And Ghana is being transformed by the diaspora, as well as Rwanda. And I think the Rwandan president is really doing a lot of work in terms of wooing the diaspora back into Rwanda. So I think the important thing is that the country should, or the country like Israel recognizes that every single person who's outside Israel is an asset to Israel. And they have programs of wooing their nationals back into the country to help the country in one way or another. This, I think, is very, very important for Zambia to be able to emulate, if possible, how the diaspora can work with the locals, because the people we have left behind are important. I look at the people I left when I went to secondary school. Those are valuable to me. Those people are valuable, but I am also valuable to them. So how can I work with those people in order for us to improve the village, for example, and to improve Zambia, to partner with them? And this is very, very important, I think, for us in Zambia. And I think the Ministry of Foreign Affairs should have a department for just focusing on the diaspora. The register should be there of each and every one of us who are out here, and how it is that we can help the country to go forward.
Mr. Chona, I'm gonna put you on a spot. You started something that I was avoiding.
Okay.
But now you've started it. I'm gonna put you on the spot.
I'm sorry about that.
You've mentioned, no, very important. You've mentioned Israel. Fantastic. And then you've mentioned Ghana. I always talk about Ghana. Ghanaians, they've got their diaspora policy, which goes beyond the Ghanaians. You know about that?
Yes.
They're even attracting Native Americans.
Yes.
To come and invest in Ghana. But then when you look at Ghana, most of the West African countries, they don't have the peace that Zambia has, that tranquility,
Yes.
But why have we failed? That's the first question I'm going to ask you before I come back to that. Why have we failed to do that? With that lovely, Zambia is so nice, despite the red tape, the inefficiency. That country is just something else. The moment I land into that country, I was telling somebody, if I go to London now, within less than an hour, I will hear gunshots. I was in Zambia for 2 weeks. I never heard a gunshot. I'm not lying. So before I come to the other question, what should we do?
Well, I think that
because we can't just say Israel is doing that, but we need to offer solutions, alternatives. What should Zambia do?
I think that my observation is that we are trying, but I think that we are not orderly in what we are doing. We have no order. It's whoever wants to do something, go ahead and do it, but there's no leadership,
So in essence, you're saying we fragmented, even as the diaspora.
That's right. That's exactly. Because even as the diaspora ourselves out here, we are not functioning in unison, I mean, I must not say we are not functioning. We are trying, but it's not good enough, okay? I've given an example that the diaspora, for example, with Zackstar, they have done some installations with us, and so have local people. But we need more. we need to work together in unison so that even the Zambian people who are at home will appreciate, oh, this is what these people have done. If I do something all by myself, I give my books to the school in Chona village. I mean, that's just me. But if we all said we were going to build and which we can do, we are building a library, okay, in school in Kasempa, or we are building a computer classroom, a computer center, in Kabompo, somewhere in electrified, and it's the diaspora that has done it. It's not impossible. It can be done, but we all have to be it has to be orderly, and we have to know what we are doing, and we have to have good leadership too. But good leadership also means that the people back home must also buy into whatever it is that we are doing, especially people who are in the positions of authority.
That's what I was coming to. The countries you've mentioned, Ghana, I always talk about Kenya. They are supported by their governments, not just ESA, but they've got some of the most powerful strategies, diaspora, what they call diaspora policy. Kenya goes on out, even in their foreign policy, they've got what is known as diaspora diplomacy in their foreign policy. Now, Ghana, they've gone a step ahead by having a diaspora desk in the office of the president. And they've got a director general in charge of the diaspora. So this is the guy, Ghana and Kenya. They know how many Kenyans are in Ghanaians and Kenyans are in the diaspora. They know how many active diasporas. They do censor them also. And then Kenya, the government at the moment, the diasporas are doing two projects, which is related to Greener City, to what you're doing. They've earmarked two places. One place is called Kaku. It's a Greener City being developed by the diasporans. This is a retirement land that has been given by the government for free, titled, for the diasporans to go and build houses where they can go and stay when they retire. And then there's a Malindi City, which is a greener city. Again, this is done by the diaspora. And then Kenya, they've even passed a law to bring all the diasporans together. It's called the Kenyan Diaspora Federation.
Oh.
There are 45 diasporan groups in Kenya. They've been brought them together by the government. So don't you think at least we need a desk somewhere, a diasporan desk? Because nobody even knows. If you asked, I've checked everywhere in Zambia. Nobody even knows how many Zambians are in the diaspora. We just estimate. So don't you think we need such a thing in Zambia for the diaspora to do something in Zambia? Because we need to get together. Because for us to do a project of, say, 300 million, we need at least 100,000, 200,000 diasporans coming together.
Absolutely. And it's funny you should mention that, because in the olden days, for example, my father was actually educated in Oxford, at Oxford University, and he was away from home in the late 50s and in the 60s. And he used to communicate with the people in the village through the DC. So the district commissioner knew that we had such a fella studying law in London, and if he wanted to send money, he would send it through the DC. So the DC is the government official, okay? So the government official, for example, in my case, the DC in Monze should know that he has an asset in Canada somewhere, okay? It should go that to that level, okay? Even my children, when they are born, okay, the DC should know that, oh, Mr. Thomas Chona has got so many children and they are doing ABCD. Okay, even if they have never landed in Zambia, that is what the Israel is doing.
So we need to have a database. We need to have a database of their skills, their children.
Yes.
You know, Botswana has got that. I don't want to go into details, but if there is a Swana somewhere in the world who is so intelligent and the government needs those skills, say at the Reserve Bank of Botswana or Ministry of Trade, they will go and hunt that person and bring him to Botswana. Yeah. So what should we do in Zambia to reach that stage?
So anyway, I think it all boils down to the government of the day and how they view the diaspora, as whether they view them as assets, and what the thing is that there is nobody who is making an assessment. For example, even a monetary assessment of the loss that Zambia has, you know, because the fact that we left Zambia is a loss to Zambia. Those teachers who went to Botswana, okay, and South Africa and Swaziland and all those, can we quantify what loss Zambia went through? You know, the absence of those people is a loss, but can we quantify if they were here back home in Zambia, what would Zambia be like? You know, these are some of the things that even statistics, I mean, central statistics is supposed to be able to, you know, work out. Yeah.
Yeah, I've asked about that, you know, and not only that, I've also requested that either our Minister of Foreign Affairs or the Permanent Secretary, I've written to them, both of them, and they've rejected my offer to come and talk to them here about the diasporans investing in Zambia. Before I can ask you another question, there's a question which people are asking. Where is the physical position of Zackstar Zambia? Should the Zambian wants to come and see you, where are you based? Lusaka, Ndola? Where exactly are you based?
So because Zackstar is a company that does solar installation, I always say we are located where our projects are, but the warehouse, and we have an office and a warehouse in Ndola. It's on Broadview in Broadview Complex on Broadway Avenue in Ndola.
Okay.
It's close to an after 10. It's a restaurant, eating place. So that is where we are actually physically located as a company. We do also operate in most of our installations so far have been in Lusaka. We have one installation in Ndola, but most of them have been in Lusaka. We've gone as far as Rufunsa in installation, and hopefully we'll go as far as Livingstone and beyond.
Okay, that's fantastic. I've got a question, which you've answered a bit of it. You know the value of the current generation of diasporans, ourselves in Zambia. What about the second generation of diasporans, our children, our grandchildren? What can you say about that? What is their value to Zambia?
Yes, I think that you know, again, I'll cite the example of Israel. You know, the value of our children, even if they have not landed in Zambia, I think is greater than the value of even yourself and myself, because they have grown in the diaspora. They know how systems here work, how they best work. They've gone through some of the best educational systems, and I know that like a country like Israel, they have programs of wooing these youngsters while they are still young. When they just finish school, it's like national service, you know. They woo them from the diaspora into Israel, and they deploy them in different sectors. And even when they go back to the diaspora, they're still thinking about their experience they had when they came to visit. And that when they are well matured and ready, they come back to develop their motherland. You know, this is what Israel is doing year in and year out. They're quiet about it, of course, but they are doing that. You know, so we should learn from there. And the example of Ghana, because Ghana recently started this program not too long ago, but the changes that we see in the progress that Ghana is making is that fusion of the diaspora and the locals, you know, fusing together and making this very, very, you know, progressive nation that we're seeing right now. Yeah. And Rwanda is also, and Ethiopia, by the way, is also following the footsteps. Yeah.
Yeah, but Mr. Chasaya, before I could bring in a question from the guest, have you got any follow-up question for Mr. Chona?
Yes, I think also just a takeaway from what he's talked about. It's really two things. I think the first one, which is very apparent, is that we need some form of direction as a diaspora to report to or exchange our ideas. I think it's very clear that the embassies maybe cannot handle, or they don't have understanding of some of the, you know, projects that we present to them, and it's not their fault, you know. But certainly, if there was a channel, call it a desk, call it what you will, where all of us, if you have got an idea or a concern, you can actually go to directly, diaspora related. That would be a way. And I'm sure that person or individual or team, they'll certainly have ideas. I mean, I do know that in the Zambian government, there are people who are in the diaspora. So there's not a lack of people who don't know our concerns or would attend to. So certainly that's something for consideration. The other aspect is also that we must, and we're not saying we're special. I think people, it's always a mistake. No, we're not asking for anything. You know, Zackstar is an example of a Zambian company where there's Zambians on the ground who have invested in the company and Zambians in the diaspora. And I think that's the mix that's going forward, because there's certainly an understanding there of what's local and what can work, what can we bring from outside. So those are my comments. But to Mr. Chona's point, and I really want to thank you for coming on the show, is the emphasis about our children. One of the things I'd like to give credit to the government of President Lungu is the passing of dual citizenship, because now we can see young people who can claim dual citizenship and play soccer. You know, when you see youngsters like Frank Musonda, that's really a plus, and that's the value that Mr. Chona was talking about. That the children, our children, are even more valuable than us. You know, you can sort of see there's almost a way of where kids are longing. You can see this kid, you know, in the States, he's playing straight and says he'd like to play for Zambia. That's what we'd like to see. And I give credit to the government of President Lungu, because even today's discussion, it is not about dual citizenship. 20 years ago, 10 years ago, that was always a starting point. Oh, we want this, we want this. So we've moved on from that. And I think where we are now is actualizing, which is why I love what Zackstar has done, is to actualize the process. And we need to see more of these, just a lot more to scale, so that even somebody in Shangombo can see our impact.
That's fantastic. Looks like we've got a guest, somebody here. Magresbe, sir, have you got a question to ask? Grace? Grace Mesa, have you got a question to ask? Yeah, we had somebody here, but they couldn't ask any question. Any comment by Thomas Chona on what Chasaya said?
Yeah, I think I concur with Chasaya, and when the dual citizenship issue was going on in Zambia, I actually happened to have been there, and I pride myself that I was the first one, because when the minister was announcing that dual citizenship is on, I took my passport and went and renewed it on that very same day. So I always say that I was the first dual citizen. Yeah, because I was waiting for that to happen, and it gives us a peace of mind to be able to work wholeheartedly without being impeded, when you have a situation like that, as opposed from before, when you were even running out of time. You had to renew your visa. You couldn't stay there for there are all kinds of issues, and even stress, I would say, on our stay when we were in Zambia. But now with the dual citizenship, we are free to invest, we are free to come and go, and we are free to move around, and even to buy land. We are free, and this has been a very, very good thing that government did for the diaspora. Yeah. So thank you, Mr. Chasaya, for bringing that point up.
You're welcome.
That was fantastic, Mr. Chona. But Mr. Chona, we were expecting some questions from the audience, but somebody came in, and it looks like they're scared of coming on live on screen. They are hiding. Yeah, but I've got a question also. I'm an accountant, and the main reason of somebody forming a business is to make profit for their investors. How is Zackstar Zambia Limited performing in terms of the bottom line? Are you because obviously you have invested, and you have to make money for the investors, and also you have to survive in the long run. Go as a going concern. What's the future of Zackstar, and are you making enough for your investors at the moment, or do you need more investors, more investment into the business? Over to you.
Well, Zackstar is a startup company. We only started actually fully operational, I can say maybe in 2021.
Okay.
So we are relatively new on the market. One thing about people who set up a business in the diaspora is, first of all, you go away. You are out in the diaspora, for example, in my case, since 1997, and all my network, I have had to set up new networks in England, new networks in Canada. Every time you change, you it's kind of a reset. You start over, So even when you come back, you're starting over. You find where's this guy? Where's that? And our age group has suffered so much in that we've lost so many friends, in the past. So you are busy looking for people who can assist you, linkages, and so forth. So it's not very easy. You can't just jumpstart, a business like that. So it's a question of perseverance, and we have to persevere and find our ropes, in the country, re-establish our connections and our networks, and as long as we are doing the right thing, everything is going to work out okay. I have all that faith in my business, and especially in what we are doing. Zackstar is a renewable energy company. We are bringing electricity to the rural areas, and we are bringing electricity to those who are experiencing unstable power outages. So there's a big potential for growth in our business area, because when I went to business school, I was told that first you look at the problem. So the problem is there, we can see it. So, and the solution is there.
And
So
you're
we're
offering the
bringing a solution
solution.
to the problem. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, now we've got one of the Bakwetu family members, Dr. Kajila, no other than Dr. Kajila. Dr. Kajila, you're on the spot. Any comments, any questions to Mr. Thomas Chona? Welcome to Bakwetu TV, Dr. Kajila.
Thank you so much, and thanks for allowing me to join in. Greetings to all the audience, the participants of TVBakwetu, who are valued immensely, especially those back home in Zambia. So I send my greetings from here, Lindsay, Ontario, Canada. So I'm actually where my brother Mark Thomas, I almost called you Mark Chona, where my brother,
Yeah.
where my brother Thomas has been for many years. And back in the early 2000s, we used to have a very vibrant Zambian community in Toronto. And that's where at least I met you at least once or twice. But after that,
Yes.
we've been kind of spread out. First of all, I want to say congratulations for doing something that a lot of people just think about in their minds, and whenever that actual urge to actually step out of the comfort zone and do something, they pull back because of one or the other. But for you, you've taken it the bull by the horns. I've been listening to what you said about the journey of how you even modified your whole career to try and fit in because you saw a need. And I think the passion that you speak with also speaks volumes to why you're going to be successful in this. So just first of all, I think most of the questions I had, you've answered because I've been listening to what the two colleagues have asked. But I think for me, the key in my mind, and I'm a believer of collaboration, I'm a believer of unity, of like minds, putting their brains together, leveraging on their individual talent, individual equity that they bring to the table, and forming consortiums or teams or companies that are either strategic partnerships that would then elevate that fantastic work to the next level so that we reach more and more people, because you alone with a few people, you can only do so much in your lifetime. But when you bring in others like mind, you can expand. Then you can compete with the bigger companies, including the ones from abroad. So I think that's the way I see diaspora involvement is, yes, we can start off as individuals, as small groups, but at some point we need to start thinking of becoming a bigger team. And what draws us back from doing that is a lot of things: mistrust, fear of because you were burnt before, or feeling that you can't work with certain people. But I think once we get rid of those fears and really start networking, opening up to each other, we will see that we'll grow bigger. And the reason I say that is we have a company called Mountain Crest, Canadian-based company, and one of our subsidiary company, Greenleaf Company, is looking specifically at renewable energies in Zambia and in the southern region, and renewable like solar, which you have zeroed in on. But there's other things like geothermal, which have access to some of my networks who are into geothermal, and they're trying to see how they can break into the African space. We have, talking about solar, you can even put solar panels on lakes so that they can contribute to the grid. There's so many ideas, but we can't do them individually because our capital is limited. But when we are together, we become bigger. We can source for funding from anywhere around the world, getting investors, but you control the narrative, you control the company, you protect your shares, but still bring in investors. So I would like to hear if you have any plans of expansion. Are you open to collaboration, and so on? I'll pause there.
Before you come in, Thomas,
Yes.
has just asked a very important question. I wanted to ask you that question. Yeah, in terms of collaboration and also, you remember I mentioned about fragmentation.
Yeah.
I was coming towards there, because as a group we can achieve a lot. So as Vakashila asked you, before you answer what Vakashila asked you, I just wanted to add something on top. Are you thinking about, issuing a prospectus to, now that you've come here, a lot of Zambians needs to know about that, so that Zambians can invest. Still, you control the company, but then they can invest in that company, because you still need a lot of money to compete. And not only that, as a Zambian company, you also need some protection. Have you ever spoken to some government departments in a government department and tell them that, guys, why can't you start protecting? Because other countries like Botswana, they protect their local businesses. The moment they see that there is a diaspora business, Zambians are investing in that solar energy, they want to protect that industry. Over to you, Chona.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much, Dr. Kajila, for that fantastic question. There's a saying in Tonga, which says, "You who is in front, you are my eyes." So when you are working by yourself, you only have one set of eyes. But when you are collaborating with others and they are working with you, everything they will see, they will come and tell you, just like you have said, Dr. Kajila, that there's companies that are looking to invest in the Zambian solar industry. I never knew about it, but you do. So you can be my eyes. So definitely collaboration is very, very important. And also that is how we even got our independence, by the way, because there was unity. And unity of thought, unity, in order for us to achieve something, we have to be united. Yeah. So definitely collaboration is probably the most important thing. So in Zackstar, when we started the company, I was going to go it by myself. By the way, I had just finished my training in business, and I said I'm going. I told my wife, I said, this is what I went to school for, so I'm going. So there was a bit of that kind of thing, but at the end of the day, she said, okay, let's do it. And so when I was approached by my partner that, maybe we can work together in this thing, I said, you read my mind, by all means, let's do it, And we started off registering Zackstar and so forth. So as we go on right now, what is happening is we're feeding the ground, what's going on,
Yeah.
And one of the things that you mentioned, Dr. Kajila, is to being able to compete with the companies, foreign companies, for example. And this is something that I have come across because, like Chasaya asked about the Rural Electrification Authority, and we placed a bid for a job, and it's so huge, and where can you get, like, you have to put a security deposit of so much money that you can't function. But you can do the job, but because of the huge security deposit you have to put in front, you can't do it. So you need assistance. Yeah. So, and I've come across these certain tenders that are just right for us, but because of this kind of thing, we are unable to go forward. Because money would be, because we are such a small company, money would be stuck in the bank for such a long time, for an unknown period, and which is a danger now, becomes a danger to the business. Yeah. So definitely collaboration is required now. You mentioned the issues of course, mistrust. Sometimes you get into situations where maybe you're with your partners and so forth. Those things they do happen, but then sometimes when I sit down in my office and I see those big trucks, 3-piece trucks, and one after another they are passing, and you wonder, how did those guys do it?
Yeah.
And they've done it, and this is, we can also do it,
Yeah.
So there are companies that have succeeded and collaborated, and they've written successful stories. They've gone through what we have gone through. And I'm not saying that it's easy. What we are doing is not easy at all. But then, as long as we persevere, we will get there. We will get there. And maybe we can be as big. And as long as we are able to collaborate with other people and work together, we will achieve our goals. Yes.
Thank you.
So,
and also, Mr. Chairman, if I may ask you, the chairman, I kind of just forgot who's chairing, whether it's Chasaya or...
Our host is Mr. Chilufya. Mr. Chilufya.
It's Patrick.
Patrick. Yeah.
Patrick.
You're welcome, Vakajila.
Thanks. Yeah. I just wanted to say one thing that, by the way, hi, Brother Chasaya.
Hello, Doc.
Yeah, I didn't acknowledge you. One thing you
come and pay.
One thing you said,
right.
Chasaya, which I think should be the foremost of all diaspora when we talk about investing back home, is our children, future generations. You look at our ages, myself, Chasaya, Chona, Patrick, we are all not, very young. We're not in our 30s.
No.
We're not in our 20s. We're not in the 30s. We're probably in our 50s,
yes.
40s. And when you look at a business, and you look at, depending on what kind of business, some of them have long-term benefits. And for you to actually start making the huge profits, it takes 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. And then
which means they will surpass us.
Yes, they will surpass us. So people should know that, because there's this notion, hey, they want to just come make money. And no, end of the day, what we want is to lay the foundation, solid companies and foundation that even if we pass on,
Yes.
Those things can continue to build the country using our children, our nieces, our nephews. And when I say these terms, I'm not talking about biological. Anyone who brings
Anyone.
skill and builds up on what the Patrick has already laid the foundation for. So I think people must realize that when we talk about diaspora coming together, we are talking of diaspora that see the need to add value back home, like what Chona did, where he goes to a school, sees a problem, he knows he has access to a solution, and he brings it. So that's what we want all of us as Zambians to be aware of, that this is not about individuals trying to make a quick buck. This is about grinding. It's about sacrifice, like he has done. He has had to leave his comfort in Canada, and he's on the ground in Zambia because he believes in what he's doing. And not everyone can do that, but even if he's there, he can be a CEO, but he has shareholders, he has partners who sit down with him and strategize for the next level. And he feels supported. I was talking to one of the ministers in the current government. I won't mention the name, but somebody connected me through TVBakwetu. And what he said is that throughout his political career, he had this feeling like the diaspora were supporting, even if they didn't do it in material terms, but just that knowledge of knowing I'm not alone. I have people who believe in what we're doing and who are, invested in it. That gives you that momentum and belief. You can stand tall with the big conglomerates of the 500 companies and so on. You can stand up to the Chinese and the Indians and others who come in with big money, with trucks, because we are together, we are many. So my message is we need to collaborate. We need to have a conference. So I'm going to ask Chona if I can connect him to Professor Powanga, who's into energy, renewable energy, and other people. We can have a chat and see where collaborations would be. And even the geothermal is a new aspect that is a Canadian-based company that's doing it. We can later on look at that. But definitely, we need to be zeroing in on these things for the sake of our children and children's children. Thank you.
I know we are running out of time, but this is very, very important. Vakashila, you just opening worms and worms and worms and worms. Yeah, Vakashila mentioned something very important. Because I've been asking myself, why as Zambians we don't have, we start companies and they end up, in briefcases. No conglomerate formed by Zambians. There are a few examples like the Matanis of this world. I remember when Finance Bank started, I was just finishing school. Oh, I was in school actually. Mr. Chasaya can help me there. I was in school when Finance Bank started. Started by a Zambian with an Indian. And it grew up to a conglomerate. By the time he was selling it to Bob Diamond, now it's called Atlas Mara, which is going to be taken by Nigerians. I understand. Access Bank. So at the end of the day, we're not going to have a company that was started by Zambians, grew up, which was expanded by Zambians. But then, Makashila, you mentioned something very important. Zambians in the diaspora, we've learned a lot. We've learned how to run businesses. And then if we invest in Zambia, we're going to come up with companies that going to surpass us. And that will help generations and generations to come, which is very important. We're reaching that stage where we can start now making our closing remarks. I'll start with you, Chasaya. What are your closing remarks?
Well, first of all, I would like to thank TVBakwetu for the opportunity to interact, and yourself, Patrick, for everything that you've done. It's quite been, it sort of brings back the journey, you can see things, but also we're seeing results. But ultimately, there are also challenges. And I think that a lot has been achieved. And we also have to celebrate what has been achieved. So dual citizenship for me is a big thing, and that government has been listening, you know, the PF and the MMD. So now we hope the new deal government can start to listen and accelerate this journey and elevate the discourse and development. I want to thank Mr. Chona for the opportunity to educate us about Zackstar, the challenges, and also just so that we can also learn as we try and keep engaging our home. Again, the point was made about how our children are the most valuable assets than even us. They bring a lot, they can handle a lot of things and a lot of wisdom. And they also bring connections, actually, so they don't necessarily need to be home, but they've got ideas that they can share back home. So I also want to thank Dr. Kajila for coming in, and you can also see how passionate he's been over the years, very engaging. And we hope, Dr. Kajila, even with this, that we keep going forward. I do appreciate the work that you do and everything, just down to earth doc, you know, all the way. So thank you for that. And Mr. Chona, all the best, and make Zackstar prosper beyond you and the wider family. I do thank you and I appreciate you.
Mr. Chasaya, thank you so much for coming in. I really, really appreciate you. Dr. Kajila, Mr. Chasaya and myself come a long way. He was my 2-year senior at Kansenshi Secondary School. So we've known each other for a long time. We've inspired each other so much. Thank you so much, Chasaya, once again. And you're free to go. Okay. And then Dr. Kajila, closing remarks. Before I bring in Chona.
Thank you so much. By the way, I went briefly to Kansenshi Primary. That's about the most I did in that part of the
I
went
to Kansenshi Secondary School. There's good things about Kansenshi.
Primary. Just
good people come from there.
Yeah, there's something good about Kansenshi. Just Kansenshi.
I've got fond memories, but that's back in the 70s, mid 70s when I was a kid. Anyway, my closing remarks are, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Thank you.
Fantastic, yeah.
Very good.
Fantastic, Vakajila. Before Chona comes in, we've got one of our regular Bakwetu family member who is just coming in, and I wouldn't have gone without allowing him to talk, or else I was going to be killed. Vom Kelebai, over to you. 2 minutes. 2 minutes for being late.
Let me not spoil the cake.
Yeah.
I was actually enjoying. I was on the background listening to the program, and please, very inspiring. And in Zambia, I'm telling you, we are blessed. We have big brainers, and I can tell you that I wonder why we were even making such kind of wrong decisions by bringing people that dubiously or stole from us while we are watching. When we with such a beautiful mindset that we have. And I'll just get an example of Pereva Satati. Fwefweba Sambirira or Imweba Sambirira Marikwata Sano Mwenso. We want you to stand in front, and we want you to face anybody that is trying to disturb, even to interfere with what you are planning to do to bring business, or just to come in and speak up. Don't be scared of being locked up. Otherwise, Murechta will and protect your investments. We now are willing to come home. I'm also in the diaspora. I want to come home and invest. I'm willing to partner with anybody that will share the dream that I have, so that I can come and we have, of course, an enabling environment by this new deal, new Dawn government. So we are lucky, and thank you so much for such an educative program. May God bless you all. We are a blessed country.
Amen.
Thank you so much, Bom Kelevai, for that. Mr. Chona, any comments on what people have said and your closing remarks?
Yes, I think first of all, what Dr. Kajila just mentioned there about, working together. I think that a lot of times we think that money is the only thing of value we can bring to the table. This is not true. Money is not the only thing of value. People have time, people have skills, people have connections, and sometimes we're impeded by thinking that, because I don't have money, I can't do it. I think this is a psychological barrier that we form in our minds and which stops us from going forward. So everybody has a value that they can bring to the table. Yes, this is what I believe. So I would like to thank you, Patrick Chasaya, Dr. Kajira, and Mr. Mukelewai for the opportunity, and all the listeners also and the viewers for giving us the opportunity to present our company, Zackstar. You can contact me, as I said before, at Thomas Chona at Zackstar.com. That is my email address. And phone number is +1 519 933 2121. That is WhatsApp. You can get me there. In Zambia, you can get me on 09777 28912. So I'd like to thank everybody who was listening to us and participated in the program. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chona, for coming. That was powerful. That was fantastic. You've encouraged most of us. You've set the way. Because some of us were saying, let's remove the PF first, and that's when we start investing in Zambia. But you went there when it was hot, and I really, really, you don't look as brave as myself, but inside you are very brave.
Okay.
Mr. Chona, you don't judge the book by its cover.
Yes.
Yeah. If we stood the two of us, I would look more braver than you. But you went there in Zambia when things were messed up, and you started this. I really, really applaud you for that. Yeah, thank you so much for coming. Yeah, Chasaya, thank you so much for your help. Kajila, always, thank you so much for your wisdom. That collaboration thing is very important. I've been talking about coming together, the Zambian diaspora being fragmented. And Chona, it's high time you issue a prospectus so that a lot of Zambians can see what you're doing and can invest in your. We are all interested. We are all interested to invest in Zambia. We've already started investing in Zambia in a smaller way, but the business that you've started, solar and greener energy is the way to go. Everything is going greener.
Yes.
So you never go wrong, but you still need also protection from the government and government agencies. You still also need help, because in other countries, South Africa does that, Botswana does that. When tenders come in big government departments, the first companies that are targeted are local companies. And if they cannot afford, then they go 50-50 with a foreign company. They always want 50%, at least 40% to go to the locals. So we pray also that the government start helping companies like yours, so that we can develop Zambian companies into conglomerates. Thank you so much, Bakajila, Mukelebai, Chasaya, Chona, for coming. Our viewers, thank you so much all over the world for your viewership. Thank you so much, everybody. Bakwetu family crew, we're now coming to the end of the program. May the good Lord bless our beloved mother Zambia. Bye for now. Good night.
Bye.
Good night.